case you don't know where I am, we're in downtown Tacoma's famous graffiti garages. In the last 20 years, downtown Tacoma has undergone a tremendous transformation. And in recent years, a lot of the activity coming out of downtown has been coming from the online community, the blogs. Blogs like Exit 133, TacomaMama.com, and FeedTacoma.com. Right now, we're headed over to Amacat Cafe and Tacoma Brewing Company to interview Kevin Freitas, who started FeedTacoma.com. Let's go find out what's up. Well, Kevin Freitas, here we are at Amacat, talking about the internet.
All of the internet.
All of the internet. So maybe we can just talk about, like, when did you come to Tacoma?
Came to school here. So
at PLU?
Yeah, so about 1997. So I moved from PLU and then downtown. And once I moved downtown, that's when I kind of started falling in love with the area.
With Tacoma?
Yeah.
What area did you live in downtown?
First, it was actually Stadium. So yeah, it wasn't too bad. I rented a duplex there with my friend and my girlfriend and
Very nice.
cat. So yeah, having a little bit of a commute, it was kind of nice because I could go through town and actually see it and just see it kind of grow and evolve, because it was, early 2000s, which doesn't seem like long ago, but it's a pretty good amount of time.
Yeah.
So
a lot of things were changing at that time.
Yeah, it really was.
And you had your blog. You've had a blog since before it was called blogs?
Yeah, 1998. It was about the same time that I got a camera. So I just started taking pictures and posting that sort of stuff. So it was just a really easy way for me to emote a little bit or share. And once I started kind of living in Tacoma a little bit more, like actually living, I just wrote about stuff.
Wrote about downtown?
Just anywhere. I mean, I'd go get dinner and I'd write about the place. And it wasn't in that time. It wasn't a review. It was just me saying, this was really good. If I have a good experience or a bad one, I should tell people about it.
So who do you think was reading your blog at that time? Like, when did you realize that people that you didn't know were reading your blog?
It certainly wasn't right away, because I think it was more once Google started to really snack, on my blog. It was like, ooh, there's some good stuff here, and ooh, there's some other good stuff over here.
Yeah.
And people started searching for that. So it was kind of, I just happened to have this body of content all of a sudden where I just lived and wrote about it and took pictures about it. And then at the same time, a lot more people became conscious of Tacoma who wanted to get involved or who wanted to know more. And so I think that's about when it happened, where it was a convergence. And people started reading it because of that. Because if they looked up a restaurant, my blog came up first, more often than not. So it was kind of bizarre.
And was that sort of the impetus for Feed Tacoma?
Yeah, over time. So I mean, what, 2004, 2005, started really focusing on Tacoma. Like, I was like, oh yeah, I really now want to write about Tacoma and provide this as a perspective or a resource or something like that. And it was also around that time that I started discovering other blogs in town.
Yeah.
And at the time, there were probably like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I mean, there really wasn't many. So I kind of called everybody together. I just said, can we get together? I have this idea I want to share with everybody and see if it'll work.
You got together in person?
Yeah, totally.
Wow. Do you remember where that was?
Oh gosh, I think it was at Blackwater Cafe, which is no longer here. I think it was.
May they rest in peace.
I know. I'm pretty sure that was it. And so yeah, it was great because it's such a relatively small town that you can get in touch with people and you can see them and meet them.
So can you explain what Feed Tacoma is for someone who has never been to FeedTacoma.com?
Yeah, it was, and especially at the time, it was just a matter of taking those 6 blogs and putting them all in one place. So it just pulled all the content into one place so people could, see it easily.
So you write one web address in, and then you can see whatever's going on in Tacoma. Anybody that's blogging about Tacoma, it's all there.
Yeah. And it was mainly because I wanted to make sure that if somebody takes a day off from writing or can't blog for a week because they're not feeling well, that there's still information kind of being pushed out there and perspectives. So it was really kind of crowdsourcing a little bit of all these different perspectives of Tacoma. And then we got more and more blogs that were feeding into the website. And then from there, just kind of added other things like discussion areas and calendars of events. We even have a huge comics section that local artists do. Sometimes it's topical Tacoma stuff, and sometimes it's just
random.
Yeah, whatever they want. It's just kind of an outlet more than anything.
Did this help amplify other efforts that were more like in real life, things that were going on?
It just proved that it could happen, I think. So it's neat to see kind of the online environment help foster that. And it helps because people are still busy, and people can't necessarily always get together. But if you start to break down those barriers of, neighbor and familiarity and things like that by just being able to have conversations with real people online, then they become real connections in the real world.
I've had that experience where I meet somebody and I say, "Oh, I follow you on Twitter."
Yeah.
Or you know Facebook
somebody.
friends.
Yeah, you know somebody by their username before
Yeah.
you know them by their actual name or their email address.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a great thing about kind of a mid-sized city is you can make real connections using tools and using kind of things like Tacoma or Facebook, that sort of stuff.
So a lot of people say that, you know, in the internet age, and now we're all on blogs and we're all on Facebooks, and people don't even talk to each other anymore. And what would you say to that? Like that people are, we've never been so disconnected from each other. What do you say to that?
I think especially in a mid-sized city, it's the opposite. It helps solidify relationships. But if you're talking to people within your own community, who cares how it happens?
Right.
Because you're going to run into those people. You're going to see them. And it's only going to make that stronger, that relationship.
Can you think of an example where community conversation online turned into activism out in the real world?
Yeah, a few different cases. There's a plaza downtown that was named at first Pacific Plaza, and then it was actually going to be given a former mayor's name. But they were actually going to call it a square, and the actual plaza itself is a triangle.
That would have been embarrassing.
So a few of us were kind of thinking, well, this is why other cities might make fun of us, and we don't want that. So let's call it a plaza, which at least doesn't talk about the geometry of the space.
Yeah.
And so it was called a plaza because we spoke up.
Do you think that in general, because of, you know, online conversations and access to what's happening hyperlocally, you know, in our community, that people are more involved than they used to be? I think people are more likely to notice what's happening.
I think so because it's easier. I mean, you can do it somewhat armchair, but I think again in a relatively small community, there's value in that.
The thing that Tacoma is sort of most famous for, maybe, is Frost Park.
Sure.
And would you tell us a story of what Frost Park is? Like, we were just down there today and bumped into some people that are doing chalk art. Can you tell us how that all came to be?
Frost Park is a little pocket park in downtown, like not even a block, that at one point a few years ago was basically going to be fenced off. So yeah, a few of us at this meeting where we kind of learned about it said, hey, you know what? We're going to show up at noon on Fridays and just have lunch. And that was it. And so a few times into that, an artist, R.R. Anderson, in town, brought chalk. And he just basically threw it down like a gauntlet. He said, I challenge you all to a chalk off. And he said, whoever wins this week is the best chalker in the universe of Tacoma. That's what he said. It just kind of started, and then I started taking pictures and then posting pictures in these different threads, and then people just started choosing their favorites. And from there, we got sponsors different weeks where they'd sponsor, you know, with hundreds of dollars of prizes. And then we'd give that away to the winner. We've done about 30 a year, so we're there more weeks chalking during the year than not.
And is it the same people that show up every week, or do you get like these random, like amazing artists coming through, or like what happens?
We've had kind of a thread of kind of a core that started out that first year. Some of them have gone, some of them still come, and then we have new people that come and discover it. It's very, very open because anybody can just come down and chalk. There's always free chalk. Over these 5 years, I've met, you know, one of my best friends in town, James Stowe, because of that. He was new to town. He started showing up because he said, I see this happening, I'm an artist, and I need to just meet people. And this looks like a great way to do it. So yeah, people have met, we've had probably 3 or 4 people. One woman's pregnant right now. So we've had babies that we've seen grow into like little kids now all of a sudden that we see at Frost Park. So it's amazing to watch the growth of it.
And there was never any more talk about shutting down the park?
No, it actually, yeah. So at first we were worried that the city was going to say no graffiti. You know, they were going to shut us down.
Right.
But we kept doing it. We're doing fine. We're not putting things up that are inflammatory or anything like that. We're just having fun, and we're putting art on the walls for free every week. So there was that, and then, you know, overall we just started to say, you know, let's just keep doing this. And eventually the city actually said, you know what, we give you our blessing. It's fine. Go ahead and do it. And around that same time, probably a few years ago, the money that was set aside to fence the park off, I think it was at the county level, was moved elsewhere.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, officially it was just going to stay open. And even the fountain's broken down at one point, and they put money back into that. Like a couple council members kind of worked over a year or so to get that fixed up. So the fountain's running again. So it's great.
Well, can you tell me about your new project, Crop Swap? Because that's the one that everybody wants to talk about.
Yeah, it's a website and mobile app that lets people connect online.
And what's the address?
It's www.cropswap.me. .me. Yeah, .com's not available yet. But it's a website that allows people to say, I've got extra tomatoes or carrots. And other people can then come and search that in their community and connect with them.
And is there any fee for that?
No, not right now. Nope.
So you just go on the website and you say, I have extra carrots. You can either swap me for something else or give me this much money.
Yeah, give me a little cash, something like that.
And what usually happens? Like, what kind of stuff have you seen people swap?
I mean, the basics at first. So they've just swapped some vegetables and things, but we've seen vegetables turn into other things, or flowers turn into other things. So eggs can turn into bulbs. So I've seen that happen, which is really fun. Some people have even offered up their baking skills. So they said, hey, if you want me to bake you a pound cake, I'll make it to order.
Yeah.
So if you give me something, either money or swap me for something else, I'll make you a fresh pound cake.
Where did the idea for this come from?
It came for me as a bachelor a few years ago, basically having a garden, and I had too many carrots, and that was it. It was really it. And I don't even really cook that much. I just like fresh vegetables. But at the same time, if I have too many, I really can't get through them all. So it was just me kind of merging that gardening thought with my web development skills. I said, wouldn't it be great if there was like a Google for this sort of thing? Or even like almost online dating, matching people up who have extra to be able to get something that they don't have or couldn't grow.
What has been the biggest surprise with that as you've launched it? Like, is it doing what you expected it to do?
Yeah, it really is. And it's doing what I wanted, which is, it's a universal idea. We just even set it up so anybody in the world can sign up. But the whole thing is aimed at person to person. So it's just about these people in these neighborhoods or zip codes that we use to just say, yeah, we want to connect people by distance with stuff they grow right there. So it's about as local as food gets, which I think is pretty amazing, because you go from large production stuff down to more local farms, but now down to person, urban agriculture, really. And
so what other kinds of projects do you have coming up, or projects that people might be starting, or what would you like to see happen next?
We're trying to work with a couple friends who are artists to actually start looking into taking some of their ideas into even like online games. So taking the art and what they create in stories and actually letting people try to start playing that and getting into that. So some of that. I have a real passion for murals. So I've been trying to figure out a good way to almost connect money with artists to make murals. So I haven't quite figured out what that's going to look like yet, but I figure paint's cheap, relatively speaking. So I want to do that.
All right. Well, it's been good talking to you here at the AmmoCat, Kevin. Thank you very much, and good luck with all of your online endeavors.
Thanks.
Taking them into real life.
Real life. And I'll see you at Frost Park next week.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Fantastic.